They say strength comes in many forms. I used to believe mine lay in how much I could endure, how many silent meals, how many cold shoulders, how many times I could lower my voice to avoid waking the beast beside me. But lately, I've started to wonder if real strength might mean doing the one thing I've always feared: walking away. My name is Lena, and I'm 38 years old. I'm a fitness trainer by profession, and I pour every ounce of my energy into the women who come to me seeking change, not just in body, but in life. Funny, isn't it? I spend my days helping others find their power, while quietly letting mine slip through my fingers at home. My husband, Tom, is not a bad man. Not in the way people think of bad men. He's never raised a hand to me. But there are other ways to bruise someone, ways that leave no marks and yet never truly fade. He is jealous, possessive, the kind of man who watches your every glance, dissects every smile you give a stranger, and turns even silence into suspicion. I live my life like a tightrope walker, every step calculated, every word measured. I am tired. There have been moments, so many of them, when I've stood in front of the mirror, rehearsing the words I would say to end it all. But then I see his eyes, those eyes that can turn from warmth to wildfire in seconds, and I freeze. Because I know him. I know he won't let go easily. And the idea of peace, the kind where I can sleep without one ear open, feels like a luxury I might never afford. If not for Jordan, I think I would have crumbled by now. My son. My anchor. My unexpected knight in sweatpants and sarcasm. He's 19 and in so many ways, still just a boy figuring out his place in the world. But when it comes to me, when it comes to protecting me, he turns into something else. Fierce. Unyielding. I've seen it in his eyes the few times Tom's temper slipped too far, when his voice boomed in the kitchen, and I shrank like a shadow. Jordan stood taller in those moments, between us like a wall. "You don't talk to her like that," he said once. Simple. Final. Tom didn't answer. He just left the room. And in the silence that followed, Jordan sat beside me, his hand resting gently over mine, his voice soft. "You don't have to live like this, Mom." That night, I cried in the shower. Not from fear, but from something deeper. Shame, maybe. Gratitude. The ache of being seen. He's my son. But sometimes, I feel like he's the only person who truly understands me. I see the way he watches me when I come home from the gym, my shoulders tense, my eyes tired. He notices the little things, when I skip dinner, when I smile too quickly, when I stare too long at nothing. And he asks. Always asks. "You okay?" And I lie. Always lie. I'm fine. But I'm not. Lately, I've started to notice how tall he's grown, how his voice has deepened, how his presence fills a room like it never used to. And sometimes, when he hugs me goodbye, before heading out with friends, I feel something stir inside me. Not wrong, not shameful. Just complicated. A longing I can't name. A wish that I were young again, free again. That life hadn't worn me down. And in those quiet moments, I wonder what he sees when he looks at me. Not just his mother, but the woman beneath, the one who once dreamed of dancing under moonlight, who once believed in the promise of love. Soon, I think. Something is coming. I feel it in my bones, in the way the house holds its breath each night. The storm is gathering. And I'm no longer sure if I'll be the one to start it, or the one swept away. That Thursday evening started like so many others, me closing the gym with aching legs and a heavier heart, dreading the silence of the house. The day had been long, filled with classes and clients and the performative smiles I wore like armor. I hadn't even looked at my phone. But the moment I stepped out into the soft blue dusk of the parking lot, I saw him leaning against his car, Jordan. He wasn't supposed to be there. The sight of him, hands in his jacket pockets, that crooked smile lighting up his face, hit me like a breeze on a humid night. "Surprise," he said. My chest ached in that strange, quiet way it always did when he caught me off guard with kindness. "What are you doing here?" I asked, laughing despite myself. He shrugged, coming toward me with arms open. "I just thought, maybe my mom deserves a night off." a night to feel good. His hug was warm, firmer than I expected, like he didn't want to let go. I melted into it, inhaling the faint scent of citrus and his cologne, feeling my heart skip in the quiet space between us. Then, in a whisper only I could hear, he said, "I just want to make you happy." Those words, they didn't land on my ears. They sank right into my bones. Before I could ask what he meant, he opened the passenger door and waved me in like a gentleman. "Come on." First stop's already booked. I didn't know where we were going and I didn't care. Just being beside him, seeing that light in his eyes again, made me feel like I was stepping into something warm, like the sun breaking through clouds I'd forgotten were there. We pulled into a quiet spa downtown, tucked between flower shops and cafes, the kind of place that didn't even look open until you were at the door. "What is this?" I asked, and he just grinned. "You're always sore after work," he said. "So tonight, we're taking care of that." We walked inside, and I froze for a second when the receptionist asked, "Couples massage?" Jordan answered so naturally, "Yes, please," that I could only follow, my heart quietly stumbling. The room smelled of lavender and eucalyptus. Soft music played. As I lay down beside him, the warmth of the oil and the careful, skilled pressure of the masseuse's hands began to undo me. I glanced sideways once, just to see him, and he was already watching me. He smiled, not out of pride or mischief, but as if seeing me at peace gave him peace too. He didn't say much. He didn't have to. His presence was enough. Afterwards, I didn't want to move. But Jordan pulled me gently to my feet. "Now," he said, "time for the second surprise." He drove us to a tall building by the waterfront, and I could hear music before we even reached the top floor. When the elevator doors opened, I was stunned. Lights strung like stars across a rooftop. A shimmering pool, casting reflections like diamonds. Tiki torches. Tropical rhythms in the air. It was like a Hawaiian party had bloomed right there in the city. Laughter, the scent of grilled pineapple. Oceanic cocktails swirling in tall glasses. We ate by the pool, seafood and fruit, light and flavorful, and I allowed myself a cocktail. Just one. Jordan didn't drink. He wanted to drive. "I want to be clear-headed tonight," he said with a wink. "It's your night." I laughed. It felt foreign in my own throat, so rarely used these days. And then the music shifted. A sultry beat. Bachata. He stood and offered me his hand. "Dance with me." "I haven't danced in years," I admitted. "Then let's remind your body how." His hand found my waist, gentle yet sure. His other took mine. We moved close. So close. My body reacted before my thoughts could protest. The music wound around us like a ribbon, pulling us into each other's orbit. The world blurred. It was just us, breathing in time, moving as if nothing else mattered. I felt light. I felt seen. I closed my eyes for a second, and I swear I forgot everything. The house. The tension. Even my name. Then splash. He pulled me into the pool with a laugh. I screamed, half in shock, half in delight, the water clinging to my skin like silk. I splashed him back. We were kids again. Or strangers. Or something in between. We were just free. As he floated close, I wrapped my arms around his neck, my voice low near his ear. "I feel so good with you," I said. His eyes found mine in the moonlight, and in them I saw the storm. It hadn't broken yet, but it was coming. His hand lingered near my cheek, fingertips barely grazing my skin. We were still wet from the pool, water glistening under the rooftop lights, and the music had slowed, replaced by something softer, more intimate. Jordan's eyes searched mine, the space between us narrowing with every heartbeat. For a moment, I forgot who we were supposed to be. I forgot where we were. There was only this closeness, the warmth of his breath, the gentleness in his gaze. And then, he leaned in. It wasn't sudden or bold. It was careful, hesitant, like he was giving me time to stop him. And I almost didn't. My heart surged up into my throat. Everything inside me fluttered with confusion and something deeper, something warmer. But just before our lips could meet, I pulled away. Too quickly, like waking from a dream, I wasn't ready to leave. I turned and wrapped my arms around him in a hug instead. A long, trembling hug. "I'm sorry," I whispered into his shoulder, my voice barely more than breath. "It's late. We should go." We climbed into the car, silent. I didn't look at him. I couldn't. My phone, left in the center console earlier, blinked with missed calls and messages.
My stomach dropped when I saw the time.
1:07 a.m. I'd been gone too long. The drive home was quiet, the city now asleep, streetlights stretching shadows across the road. Every minute that passed felt like sand slipping through an hourglass. I couldn't stop. When we pulled into the driveway, I rushed inside first, heart hammering. Jordan stayed behind to pull the car into the garage. I opened the front door quietly, hoping, foolishly, that maybe Tom would be asleep. But he wasn't. He was there, in the armchair by the window, hunched like a lion before a strike. As soon as he saw me, he stood up sharply, his voice loud enough to cut through the still air. "Where the hell have you been?" I froze. "With who, Lena?" he demanded, stepping toward me. "What man were you at this time?" The disgust in his voice coiled around me like a whip. I closed my eyes, just for a second, bracing for the familiar storm. But this time I didn't retreat. I snapped. "I'm done, Tom," I shouted, my voice echoing off the walls. "I'm sick of your questions, your accusations, your suffocating jealousy." He stared at me, stunned. "You treat me like your property," I continued, the words rising like a tidal wave. "Like I don't have the right to breathe without your permission. I'm your wife, not your prisoner." His face twisted, not with remorse, but with rage. He stepped closer, and I took a step back. That's when the front door opened. Jordan walked in, key still in hand, and the moment he saw us, me trembling, Tom towering, his entire body tensed. "Get away from her," he said, voice low, steady. Tom turned. "This is none of your—" "No," Jordan cut in, stepping between us. "You don't get to talk to her like that. Not anymore." "Jordan, you don't love her," he said, eyes locked on Tom. "You control her. You break her down. You only keep her around because you're afraid of losing power." Tom tried to speak, but Jordan didn't let him. "You don't deserve her. And I'm not letting you hurt her again." Tom's mouth opened, then closed. His fists clenched, then released. He looked at Jordan, then at me, then finally stepped back. "Fine," he hissed. "You two deserve each other." And he left. Just like that. The door slammed, the echo of it shaking the air. And I collapsed. But before I could even hit the floor, Jordan caught me. His arms wrapped around me, not like a man this time, but like a son cradling a child. "Sure," he whispered, holding me close. "Forget it, Mom. Forget all of it. It was just a bad dream." I wept into his shoulder, not because of what had just happened, but because of what I felt. Safe. Safe for the first time in years. The door had barely stopped shaking when Jordan turned to me again, his arms still around my shoulders. I could feel his heart beating fast against my cheek, and mine wasn't much slower. We stood there in the entryway, suspended in the thick silence that follows a storm. But Jordan, he didn't let the silence settle. He didn't let the fear or guilt or sorrow take root. No, he did something only he could do. He pulled back slightly, cupped my face in his hands, and looked at me with a crooked smile. "Okay," he said, voice soft but playful. "Now we switch timelines. The angry, yelling dimension is closed. Welcome to silly tea-making hour." I blinked at him, not understanding. He turned around, wagged his finger in the air like a magician about to reveal a trick, and said, "Your only job is to hold on to me from behind while I make us tea. No questions." "What?" I laughed, wiping at my cheeks. "No questions," he insisted, already walking toward the kitchen. "Hold my waist. You're my personal backpack now." It was so ridiculous, so sweet and spontaneous. I couldn't help myself. I followed him, laughing through the tears still drying on my skin, and wrapped my arms around his waist from behind. He reached back and patted my hands with exaggerated importance.
There.
Now don't let go. We are a two-person tea unit. He walked around the kitchen like that, opening cupboards, moving to the kettle, reaching up for mugs, all with me pressed to his back, giggling like a girl in a playground. You're serious about this? I managed through a breathless chuckle. Dead serious, he said. You're the engine. I'm just the vehicle. I rested my cheek against his back, the warmth of him grounding me in a way I hadn't expected. Every movement, every little bump of his body as he worked was soothing, familiar, safe. The kind of absurd comfort only Jordan could provide. When the tea was finally steeping, he turned his head slightly. Still holding on? Still here, I murmured. He nodded solemnly. Mission success. But he wasn't done. I got something else, he added with a gleam in his eyes, opening the fridge. A moment later, he emerged with a small box, the kind you get from boutique bakeries. Inside was a single, perfect slice of strawberry cake. You didn't, I said, half in awe, half in mock horror. At this hour? He set it down and grinned. Emergency cake is a real category. You qualify. We sat together at the kitchen island, the only light coming from the under-cabinet bulbs, casting soft shadows across the tiles.
He poured our tea.
I took the first bite of the cake, sweet, soft, full of the kind of flavor that tastes like sunshine even at 1:30 in the morning. And for once, I didn't care about calories, or sugar, or whether my abs would protest in the mirror tomorrow. I didn't care about anything except the way Jordan looked at me across the table, his own smile wide and easy, like he hadn't just stood between me and a man twice his size and told him to leave. I didn't care because in that moment I felt good. I felt good with him. And for the first time in what felt like forever, that was enough. The tea was warm in my hands, its steam curling like ribbons in the air. We sat in that familiar quiet, just the two of us, the scent of strawberries and chamomile wrapping around us like a blanket. I looked at Jordan, his face lit by the soft underlighting, his eyes bright but calm, and I felt it hit me all at once. How lucky am I murmured, more to myself than to him, to have you. His smile didn't fade. He reached across the table, took my hand in his, and without a word, brought it to his lips. He kissed the back of it gently, his eyes never leaving mine. The moment was tender, so full of care it stole the breath right from my lungs. Then, without warning, he plucked a strawberry from the slice of cake and held it up to my mouth, grinning like he knew exactly what he was doing. Open, he said. I hesitated. Not from discomfort, but from something more delicate, more vulnerable. Still, I leaned forward, parted my lips, and let him place the fruit on my tongue. It was sweet.
So sweet.
And the moment felt charged, like the quiet before lightning. He leaned back, clearly pleased with himself. Now, he added mischievously, climb on the chair. What? I laughed. Trust me, he said, standing and pulling a chair out for me. I climbed up, confused and giggling. Jordan, what on earth are we doing? He turned around and lowered himself slightly. Backpack mode, part 2. You're kidding, I said, even as I slipped my arms around his neck. Nope. Bedtime delivery service. Hold tight. He lifted me effortlessly, my legs wrapping around his waist without thought, and carried me down the hallway as if I weighed nothing. I buried my face in his shoulder, laughing so hard my ribs ached. At the doorway to my room, he slowed. Then, carefully, he set me down on the edge of the bed and brushed a few wet strands of hair from my forehead. I looked up at him, still breathless with laughter, and he leaned in and kissed my cheek, soft, warm, lingering just a second longer than necessary. Good night, Mom, he whispered, and then he was gone. But I didn't sleep for a long time. I lay there, one hand resting where he had kissed me, wondering if maybe the storm had already passed, and something else, something unspoken, was now beginning. The next day, work dragged by in a blur. My thoughts kept circling back to the night before, to the tea, the laughter, the strawberry, his arms. So when the door to the gym opened and I saw him, I smiled before I even realized it. But he didn't wait by the front like usual. No, Jordan walked in further, looking around until his eyes landed on the changing room. "Jordan," I called, half laughing, half alarmed. But it was too late. He pushed the door open right as I was changing out of my workout top. I gasped and turned my back, and he immediately threw his hands up, slamming the door shut. "Oh my God, I'm sorry. I didn't know." I scrambled into my hoodie, my cheeks burning, but I couldn't stop laughing. "1 minute," I called. "Take 2, he replied from outside, voice strangled with embarrassment. When I opened the door, fully dressed and trying to act calm, he didn't give me a chance to say a word. He stepped forward, took my face in his hands, and kissed me. It wasn't a question. It wasn't even hesitation. It was soft, confident, something waiting in him finally finding its voice. And when he pulled back, the look in his eyes said everything. Whatever we were pretending not to feel, we weren't pretending anymore.